Hi everyone, this is Brad Wood. Welcome back to another episode of the What's New in Commandbox 4 screencast series. So, first things, if you haven't seen our giant blog post detailing all the cool new things in Commandbox 4, please check it out. I go over all the new stuff that will make you want to start using it right away. So, we'll have the link there in the description, and today we're going to be talking about the interactive jobs. So interactive jobs is basically a fancy name for some UI magic we've cooked together to be able to sort of simplify all the really wordy, verbose stuff that you do from the shell. And to do a quick demonstration for you, if you've ever installed anything with Commandbox, you know there can be a lot of lines of output when you do the installation. However, in Commandbox 4, if I install something like the CBRM module, you can see that it sort of scrolls some information past as it's installing, kind of showing you the current step. Based on your internet connection, some of those steps might take a few seconds to complete, but when it's done, we're left with a nice tidy little output here, which only includes 3 lines, which of course matches the 3 packages that were just installed. So the idea is here that as long as it successfully installs, you really don't care about all the details, and we don't want to just kind of blow your screen away with just tons and tons of output. To give you a demonstration, a bit of before and after, here is a Commandbox 3 shell that I have running, and I am currently looking in the ForgeBox, the code for our www.forgebox.io website, and you can see here that this ColdBox site has a ton of modules and things in it. We're using Rollbar, Markdown, Java Loader, CBRM, ColdBox, you name it. All kinds of stuff is defined in our box.json. And so if I just run an install command, just by itself, everything's already installed. You see there's quite a bit of output that goes out to the screen. I counted it, it's almost 150 lines of nonsense that scrolls past. And a lot of this is just really duplicated stuff that you probably don't necessarily care to see. To compare that, here is a Commandbox 4 instance of my shell, also sitting in the root of my ForgeBox site. And of course, since I had the cool bullet train module installed, we can see that I'm in the ForgeBox app and the version of Lucy and everything. If I run an install command here, all the same lines of debugging information scroll past, but once we complete each of those intermediate jobs or installations, we just replace it all with that nice green line and the green checkbox. So there we go. So you have an equivalent of like 15 lines or so of output now in Commandbox 4. If something errors, obviously, we're going to stop and show that error message so you can debug that. But the idea is that the overall experience in Commandbox 4 is a lot more abbreviated when it comes to some of those verbose things. Starting servers is the same way. Once you start a server, you only have a single line of output. Now, if you're one of those people that enjoys punishment and you really want to see all of that nonsense, you can add the verbose flag to your install, and it will go through the same steps of installing all the packages and hiding everything. But once it gets to the end, it'll kind of dump out one final view of all that same debugging information. So you might want to do this for a job running inside of Jenkins or Travis or some kind of CI server where you really want to be able to go back and see all that debugging information. You can see it is still nicely organized along with each of the individual steps that it took. So that's the interactive the job stuff in Commandbox 4. So you might be thinking to yourself, that looks pretty cool. Is there a way I can use that in my custom task runners and commands? And why, yes, there is. I'm glad you asked. Over here in the docs, under task runners, we have a section, an entire section, a page in the documentation called interactive jobs. And this describes how you, too, can have your cool output. If you have a whole bunch of items that you want to be able to do as part of a task, we have a nice simple DSL you can use for that. So let's take a quick look, just try it out for a couple seconds. We're going to go ahead and do a task create. Let's initialize an empty task runner in this folder and open it up in our default editor. There we go. And then we'll go over to the docs and let's just copy and paste this default example here and we'll talk through it. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so first things first. This job variable is a new magical variable available in all of your task runners and any custom commands if you're writing Commandbox modules. And it is it's sort of think of it as a static service. It's just a singleton, and you can call methods on it to let Commandbox know whenever you're starting and stopping items. So we start out with job.start, and we give it a name. This is my job to run. I have some sleep in here just to kind of slow it down so you can see it running. We can add log messages, job.add log, still going. Now we're getting somewhere, almost done. Right, you can have as many of these as you want. And then when we're done, we run job complete. And what that will render out as is when I run this task, this is my job to run, still going. Now we're getting somewhere, almost done, and we're finished. So while those intermediate log lines showed during the execution, they all disappear, and the only thing the user cares about is that thing that had several steps. It's now complete. If the job fails, it shows up in red and with a red X. And you can configure a number of things, including how many lines of logging display. Just to be clear, if it's not, if I leave out the sleeps and just have a whole ton of logs that go by, when I run that, you can see they all scroll past, but we only show, I think, like 3 lines at a time. So wait till it gets past those sleeps here. So you see all those lines scrolled past. I think that was five lines at the time that showed by default. So no matter how many intermediate steps your job has, it kind of condenses it down to the screen. Let's take a look at another example from the docs. It's a little bit more complicated. What's kind of cool is you have the ability to nest jobs. So let's say you have kind of one top level job that your task wants to run, and inside of it are several other sort of discrete steps that you want to be able to track individually. The way you deal with that is we start a job. We have some log messages. Add warn log just adds it as a warning, so it's kind of color codes it, right? We have a couple logging messages. We start another nested job, right? Installing CF Engine first. It has a few log lines. That internal job completes, right? Now we're back to the top level, a couple more log messages, and then in this case, the first job actually errors. So instead of calling job.complete, we can call job.error. Didn't see that coming. So this is all in the docs. This is where I copied this example from. And if I run this here from the shell, there's no sleeps in there, so those log messages went past so quickly you didn't even see them. But the overall output is that the nested job was complete. It's green with the green check, but the overall job did in fact error as we set it up and as the red X. So if you have some task runners maybe that go through and zip a bunch of files or do a bunch of commands and things, and you kind of want to get some feedback while they're running, but at the end you don't want to just blow the user away with output. You can check out the docs on these interactive jobs. There's all sorts of additional goodies in here I haven't talked about, and you can have some nice, cool job interfaces in Commandbox 4. Okay, that's it, everybody. Have a good one.